then your assessment's a little different than the typical range of motion, strength assessment. So you do things a little bit differently. Is it more based upon client history, or are there specific movements or tasks that you get the individual to do?
A lot of what I do now is really customized off of their history, but in general, the two things that you can use and they're really easy to teach are a gait assessment, to get them to walk as close to normal as possible. The cool part about a gait assessment is it's what's called an autonomous motion. If I tell you to walk from here, to your kitchen to get a drink of water, you don't have to think, okay, right foot, left foot, okay, move my arm here, move this. You walk. It's a sort of a hardwired autonomous running program in your brain, sort of like the operating system on your computer. The cool part about that is, assuming you can get them to walk normal, you can pretty much find almost any compensation in their body, or at least you can find the major ones really quick. And after that, I usually ask them, and I got this from Dr. Cobb at Z-Health, is what can't you do without pain? Because usually, unfortunately, I have very few clients, I'm sure you're probably in the same boat, that come to me and go, I'm not really hurt yet, but I don't want to get injured, and I just want to perform better. Remember, I don't want to get injured. Most of the people I get come in and go, yeah, I really messed up my shoulder, and now it's preventing me from doing something. How do I fix it? So a lot of the pain people, it only reoccurs in a specific pattern. Okay, I roll up on my toe. Okay, there it gets painful. I squat. I lunge. It's usually some specific movement that you're looking at that becomes painful. So then my goal then is to get them to do that movement without pain. And by using information from the gait assessment, trying to drill, since we're targeting the nervous system, we can then reevaluate them right away. Is their gait better or worse? And the really cool part is, and I'm sure you've probably noticed this too, if you get someone to move better, a vast majority of the time you can decrease or eliminate their pain. So I'm not a physician, I'm not intending to treat anyone's pain. All I'm trying to do is to get them to move better. And a really cool side effect, if you want to call it that, of moving better is a reduction in pain. These are assuming they're kind of chronic type issues.
And another thing that we were talking about before we got on the call was arthrokinetic reflex. So maybe you can kind of explain how, jam joints could actually lead to muscular weakness.
You see this a lot. I was just talking to someone this morning about, he was saying you see glute-med dysfunction in runners all the time. And I'm like, yep. So at its simplest level, if I injure my right elbow, my body neurologically is not going to let me curl, let's say, a heavy weight. Right? It's not going to allow those muscles across the elbow joint to fire at 100% because it goes, hey, numbnuts, you have a bad elbow. So since you're doing a voluntary exercise, I'm not going to allow you to complete that motion with as much force because I'm going to try to protect your elbow. The body is going to try to protect you from itself. It's going to try and prevent you from destroying yourself. So the reverse is true. If I can get really good mobility in my elbow and my brain goes, hey, no elbow problems here, all systems go, then you can allow you to lift a heavier object. So the theory is that your body is more survival-based. Unfortunately, it really doesn't give a rat's butt about performance. The way to get a performance increase is to make it better able to survive. By doing that, you're actually able to increase performance. So by getting rid of that arthrokinetic reflex, that sort of jammed elbow joint, that allows you to have much better muscular function at that level.
Okay. So we're kind of reaching the end of the call. Maybe you can just let people know, maybe, I'm interested. What are you doing your PhD in?
Ironically, I initially was doing it, I was going to do it on some more movement-based stuff and more neurology-based stuff. But the short answer is trying to get a study to look at that stuff is a royal pain in the butt. So one of the things I'm interested in is that everything in physiology is nonlinear. The current model we use is steady state, and it's assumed to be sort of a static model. Even though you talk to any exercise physiologist, physical therapist, whatever, everyone pretty much agrees that the body is nonlinear. You've had this with clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
Clients will almost never, unless they're a beginner, lose weight or gain muscle in a linear fashion. Some do, but most of them don't. They'll be going for 1 week, 2 weeks, and all of a sudden they miraculously lost like 2 or 3 pounds almost overnight. And it seems as they get to more of an advanced state, that becomes more and more nonlinear. So what I'm looking at is a theory called metabolic flexibility. The theory is that we take someone who's diabetic. We all know that diabetics have a really hard time processing, in general, carbohydrates. So they become very metabolically inflexible. Their body can't process carbohydrates real well. Some of them really can't process fats all that well if you get into, really just bad cases. Those people are obviously in a world of hurt by that point. On the other end of the spectrum, if someone is very metabolically flexible, they should be able to process carbohydrates very efficiently. They should also be able to process fats very efficiently. Proteins in general aren't used too much for energy or for fuel, so they're kind of a little bit in a class all their own. So what we're looking at is possibly non-invasive ways to measure metabolic flexibility. There's only been a handful of studies that have been done on it so far, and they usually use insulin clamps. So you hook up 2 IVs to you, one in each arm, we put a crap load of insulin in you, and then a crap load of carbohydrates to counteract it. It's invasive, they're long, and they're hard to get people to do the studies. So we're looking at a non-invasive way of trying to assess metabolic flexibility. In addition to that, we're seeing if it gets altered. So we're taking a commercially available energy drink, like Red Bull, Monster, that type of thing, and we're giving that to subjects. And we're seeing in healthy college-age people, does it alter, what we believe is the non-invasive marker for metabolic flexibility. In addition to that, we're looking to see, is it ergogenic? So if I give you an energy drink, can you physically exercise longer? Does it physically give you energy? Does it work? And we're also looking at heart rate variability, which is a way to measure parasympathetic and sympathetic control of the heart. Parasympathetic is like the braking action. Sympathetic is more like the gas pedal action on the heart. And we're also looking at endothelial function. So we're looking at the blood vessels' ability to dilate based on changes in blood flow. So we know that in a nice healthy vessel, if you all of a sudden get this huge inrush of blood into it, it should dilate a little bit. And that would be a nice healthy vessel. One that's all kind of buggered up doesn't dilate much at all. So the marker we're using is what's called FMD, or flow-mediated dilation. So we're looking to see, does an energy drink acutely change any effects in heart rate variability and also blood vessel function.
Interesting. You'll have to definitely let us know when it gets published.
Yeah, it should be interesting because I like to add in the energy drink component to it because one, that I think makes it more interesting, and two, there's just not much data on it. There's one side of the fence that says, there's no issue, it's all stuff we've studied before, which is true. The other side that says, well, these haven't really been studied that much, we don't know what the combination, of ingredients actually does. And that's kind of true too. There's been a few studies that, show it may help work performance a little bit. Wasn't anything huge, but again, it's still a couple studies. Ironically, even caffeine, which has been studied for years and years, there's still tons of conflicting data on caffeine, depending on what component you're looking at. So,
how can listeners get a little bit more information about yourself?
Sure. You can go to my website, which is just